How do we say no confidently? So it's to be clear and direct. So you just say no. Now you can give an excuse, but no, that you don't need to give an excuse. And in fact, it's more powerful if you can politely just say no. For a people pleaser, that's very difficult. And be prepared to handle pushback, because like we said, a boundary is not a boundary unless it is communicated and asserted, please. And we made a nice little acronym, which I think is quite helpful. So I'll talk very briefly about it. It's on, I might post it again, actually, at some point, the picture, because I think it summarizes some of the things to remember. How do we say no confidently? So it's to be clear and direct. So you just say no. Now you can give an excuse, but no, that you don't need to give an excuse. And in fact, it's more powerful if you can politely just say no. For a people pleaser, that's very difficult. So it might be something that you have to work on, reducing your excuses to something just very, and you can say, oh, I'm going out tonight, so no. You don't have to be elaborate with your excuses. If you
just say no, I don't want to. Yeah. It's that simple. It's not for my energy. No thanks.
Yeah, no thanks. Well, and because no feels harsh, you can say, I hope you have a lovely time, but it's a no for me. And it lightens it. Exactly. So you're not pooing on their suggestion. I think that's a great idea, but it's not for me. Or I hope you have a wonderful time. I'm sure it's going to be great, but I'm not going to be at this one. So it's not just saying no, but it's also not giving an excuse. Yeah. So that's one way to soften the no without having to feel that you need to explain why. And be prepared to handle pushback, because like we said, a boundary is not a boundary unless it is communicated and asserted. So people will try and test it, especially if you're somebody that's always said yes in the past. It will be a shock to them. So you will need to be prepared that they might try and convince you. And then I would just go straight to the no, thank you.
Exactly. No. People will try and guilt trip you for that. If people guilt trip you for setting a boundary, these are not your people. They're the people you should be walking away from completely. Because the right person will say, I respect your wishes. Let me know when you're feeling better, kind of thing.
Yeah. So they might go, oh, but this. You can just say, I understand, but no. Yeah. And if people are giving pushback, it's best to be as brief as possible. Don't go into their excuse and as to why, or their reason why they think you should do it. Don't go into it. Just say, I understand, but no. So did one on people pleasing. We made a nice little acronym, which I think is quite helpful. So I'll talk very briefly about it. It's on, I might post it again, actually, at some point, the picture. Because I think it summarizes some of the things to remember. So prioritize your need. So when somebody asks you, because often we don't realize until after we've said yes that we've thrown ourselves under the bus. So whenever we are given, asked to do something, think first, what do I want? Or what have I already got planned for the weekend? Exactly. And if it slots in and it's something you want to do, that's great. But if not, then you can say no.
Sorry, you can give yourself a minute to answer. Don't just say yes straight away. Just say, even just say, I'll think about it. And then do think about it.
Back to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a great one, because when we're put on the spot, that's when we're likely to either over-explain, apologize, not be very,
or say yes too quickly, and and
it's harder to then say no once you've already said yes. So it's best to go, oh, let me think about it, I'll get back to you. That's a great one. So avoid over apologizing. Now, I am terrible for this. I apologize all the time, like It's just part of the way I
It's
speak.
just our culture. Irish and English people, I think, are the same. Because I used to work in factories, and you know, the people from other countries would be going, "Stop apologising. The Irish are terrible for apologising." If somebody popped into you, you would say sorry to them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's it. It's like if somebody's holding the door open for me, and I'm maybe 2 steps away from the door, I feel like I have to hurry up because they've decided to hold the door for me, and then I'll say, "Oh, sorry, thanks,
What are
sorry."
we like? Yeah, we have to stop doing that
Yeah,
because you have nothing to apologise for. You didn't do anything wrong.
yeah. And it's okay to be that polite if it doesn't really bother you. But when it comes to saying no, really, if you're trying to assert a boundary with somebody about something, you shouldn't apologize, because it stops it being quite so assertive. It's like,
Exactly.
I'm inferior. No.
Exactly. You
And so
shouldn't
it
have to
stops
apologise for putting
them.
your head first, like.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And also, like, I would say, um oh, sorry, I can't make that, I'm going to go and see my mum this weekend. It's like, am I sorry that I'm going to see my mum? No, I'm not sorry. That is my main plan. That's what I
Yeah.
want to do. And so we're in saying it that way, by saying sorry, I'm going to do this, it's like it's and language is important. We don't realize how important language is, but your subconscious is always listening to you. And so you've got to be really careful about how you word things. So if you're like, sorry, I'm going to go and see my mum, it's like that bit isn't so important, you know. It's like, I'm sorry
Undermining
I
yourself,
can't
yeah.
meet your needs because I'm spending time with my family. It it's it's putting across a message, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, that, like,
But
you're
your stuff is less important, like.
yeah, yeah. The next one is set healthy boundaries. So we've talked about that. Boundary is not a boundary unless it is clearly communicated and asserted. um Say no and mean no. So that goes back to what we're saying, is like, when you say no, if somebody comes back and tries to convince you, don't be persuaded
No,
otherwise. Don't
exactly.
be, just keep saying no.
Be
uh,
confident in your own answer and in your own well-being as well. Just be confident in that.
yeah, absolutely. And then a nice one, which I think is really good if you are a bit of a people pleaser and you don't really say no very often, is to imagine you're assertive. Now, this is like prep beforehand that you can do if you know it's a situation that you're going to. So say someone says, do you want to come on this girls' weekend to Ibiza or something? I don't know. And I'm like, oh, Ibiza's not really my kind of thing because I don't really drink anymore and this and that, the other. But it would be nice to see the girls, but I haven't really got the money. And then, right. So, in that moment, you might say to them, oh, that sounds lovely. I'll have a think about it and get back to you. That's when you can go away and you can practice imagining. So if you, the more vivid you can make it, imagine being there and meeting them and saying no about it, bringing the subject up, or them bringing the subject up, and how you will say no. And even prepare yourself. They might try and convince you. What things might they say to convince you? And in your head, practice saying no. No should be in an assertive voice. You should be stood assertive. What would assertive you look like? Really get a really clear image of it, because there's a lot of evidence to show that if we practice things in our mind, it's almost as impactful as doing it.
Yeah.
They've done studies, haven't they, about exercise, and I won't go into details, but basically, if you full on envision doing something, your subconscious doesn't really know the difference. It's like you've done that thing.
Yeah.
So it's better to actually practice doing it
Yeah.
verbally, practice with someone. But the next best thing is really vividly imagining that situation.
Yeah, I think Aaron Dowdy calls it the empty chair technique. So sit opposite an empty chair and picture that person in that chair. And then you can talk to them by picturing them like there beside you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very important always is to offer self-compassion. So we have society has often given people this idea that, you know, it's selfish to put yourself first, that we should be making other people happy, that, you know, it's nice to be nice and all this kind of stuff. So whenever you're leaning into a behavior that is not your usual standard behavior, it's because you're leaning into your shadow, then you are going to have uncomfortable thoughts around that. So you're probably going to feel guilty. You're probably going to feel like you're being maybe selfish, or that people aren't going to like you, or they're not going to like you as much for it. Those things will be natural. That's what will spring up because you're challenging your belief pattern and your usual behavior. So it's so important that we have self-compassion. So whenever those thoughts come up, you need to acknowledge them. Oh, I'm feeling guilty right now. That's natural because normally I would have done this, but I'm I'm doing this for myself, and that's okay. And it's like making sure that you acknowledge it, but you be compassionate towards yourself, that it's okay to feel guilty, but you're not doing something that's wrong. You know, you're
and
bound.
this is the thing I learned. Guilty. We should only feel guilty if we've done something wrong,
Yeah.
and we end up feeling guilty for things that we actually haven't done wrong. So try and readdress it or reframe it. You know, you're not actually doing a bad thing. You're putting your own health, and mental and physical health first. So you should not feel guilt or shame about that. And oftentimes the person you set boundaries with will say those words, will make you feel guilty. They will guilt trip you. And that's another reason to have self-compassion. Is because those are lies. Those are not real.
I'm on a live. Okay, thank you. That was my son, sorry.
That's it.
Came to tell me. I'm not going to say on live. I'll tell you later what he came to tell me. I don't know if you heard him. Anyway, I'd be so embarrassed if you did. Right.
That's fine.
Where were we up
We're
to?
all human.
I know. Yeah. Oh yeah, being self-compassionate. So yeah, the thing is though, to expect that you're going to feel that way. You are going to feel that way. Acknowledge that you feel that way, but like Angela says, you know, you shouldn't feel guilty. You're not doing anything wrong. So it's just being really compassionate, as if you are a little child, you know, nurtures that little child inside of you.
Exactly.
How you would speak to a child in your situation, or a loved one in your situation, that you haven't, you know, you've got nothing to feel guilty about. You've got to give yourself that compassion, because whenever we're making a change, our subconscious will throw up you know, it will challenge it. It will try and drag us back to what is familiar and normal. You know, you're used to being a people pleaser. You're used to saying yes. You're not used to having boundaries. You're not used to saying no. So it's going to feel uncomfortable. So the last part of passion
Yeah,
is,
just for 1 second, when you said how would you speak to another person? If a friend of yours or a family member was dealing with a toxic situation, what would you tell them? So to see it like that, that's another way of doing it. It's like, you're not going to tell them put up with that abuse. You're not going to tell them be walked all over. You're going to tell them to set boundaries. So speak to yourself as if you were speaking to another one.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's a good thing to consider right at the beginning, with the prioritize your needs. Like if this was somebody you loved, would you think it was right for them to be saying yes to this situation? And that's a good way, because sometimes we don't, I know this myself, I don't have the same expectations of treatment that I would have for my own children, you know, and I should expect and demand and have boundaries for the same treatment. And so it's sometimes good to remove yourself out of it and view it as if it's somebody that you love, because you should love yourself. Yeah, so that acronym spells out passion. Prioritize your need, avoid over apologizing, set healthy boundaries, say no, mean no, imagine you're assertive, offer self-compassion, and then the last one is now embrace discomfort, because whenever we do something different, it's going to be uncomfortable, and that's okay. You know, sometimes I was actually on a coaching session, like on a being taught coaching session, with Ed, and he was talking about how he gets over the, you know, how you need to get over the asking the client for money. And he was like, it's sitting in the discomfort for as long as possible. And that's the same thing. It's because if you're not used to saying your price to somebody, then you're going to feel uncomfortable. So being able to sit in that discomfort and be okay with that. And it's the same with anything you want to change in your life, actually. Anything. There's going to be moments of discomfort. And so we have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Otherwise we can't grow, can we?
Exactly. And like your body's going to tell you. Like my body reacts, my tummy, I get upset tummy when I'm in the wrong situation, or if I'm going to be doing something out of alignment. And you know, I have to. That's what I started listening to. Your body's going to scream at you and tell you that you're not in the right situation. You're going to feel discomfort, dis-ease in the wrong situations.
Risking being is a big one for me, you know, and that is about having your voice. And if you think about how far I've come in a year, that's a huge, like, to be talking on live and stuff. But it's also in in life generally. Now I actually would I'm in like this funny situation where I never used to see opportunities. So now I've got myself into this situation where I'm going to say yes to opportunity. And I've got to be really aware that I might take on too many things, because I'm juggling this and this. I'm like juggling. And I'm like, somebody else says, how about this? Or I get an idea and I'm like, let's do that. And but I'm not doing it as a people-pleasing thing. I'm doing it because I genuinely get excited about the opportunity. But still, we have to be mindful of our energy and spreading ourselves too thin, haven't we?
But that's it. And you have grown so much that you can assess that. You know that you're doing something that's in alignment with your soul. So that's what you're saying yes to. But you're not saying, and you're saying no to the things that are out of alignment. And that is, and since I met you, you're using your voice, you're owning your voice, you're allowing yourself to be seen now. You know what I mean? And you have grown so much because of it. So you have transformed from that yes person into a yes to yourself person.
Yeah. And it's actually funny because we've got quite a similar history. We've talked about this before, that when we were teenagers, like we didn't fit in, but then we were not authentic because we were frightened of not also fitting in with the alternative group. So we would keep things in our shadow, we'd keep things secret, wouldn't we? We wouldn't use our voice, we wouldn't be honest some of the time. We'd like, oh, I don't like this, when maybe you do like it, but you don't want to admit that you like it because you want to fit in. And it's that people-pleasing thing again, isn't it? The need to fit in somewhere. And actually,
that's
better,
as you said,
we are ourselves.
Yeah, that's the shadow aspect. We're told to be ashamed of certain aspects. And it could be a simple thing as liking a Justin Bieber song. Yeah. Before, I would never have said that. Now I don't give a fuck because I like everything. I'm not ashamed of it. Call me weird if you want. But when we are hiding our voice. We're suppressing. We are people-pleasing because we're hiding parts of ourselves. And it's only when we're in our true authenticity that we can actually say no, and that we can actually speak our truth.
Yeah. And it's so important to speak your truth, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's been a good one again.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
To finish, we have a Facebook group for teachers and school support staff that we launched a week and a half ago, I think. And it's amazing. It's special because it's full of coaches. So there's lots of coaches in there that want to help teachers and school support staff to grow in whatever area that you might be wanting to work on. So it doesn't have to be school related at all. If you want to improve your nutrition or exercise or balancing your life at home or self-care or transformation or spiritual guidance, it's all there. There's so many coaches in there at the moment. I think there's about 12 of us, or maybe even more. There's myself there and Angela, of course. Angela has always got lots of lovely inspirational quotes she's putting in there, which I love. So thanks for that, Angela. And you can post your questions or problems, and we can try and give you some advice, or you can just soak up the information videos and things that we post in there and the messages of growth and self-improvement. So I highly recommend. It's completely free. You might as well join if you've got a Facebook page. Yeah.